And I strongly advise you to do the same with Mr. Your invalid friend with the absurd name. Yes, him.
I will not part with Bunbury. And if you ever get married, which seems to be extremely problematic, you'll be very glad to know about Bunbury. And a man who marries without knowing Bunbury is a very tedious time of it.
That is nonsense. If I marry a charming girl like Gwendolyn, I certainly wouldn't want to know Bunbury.
Then your wife will. You don't seem to realise that in marriage life, 3 is company and 2 is none.
Oh, that, my dear young friend, is what the corrupt French drama has been propounding for the last 50 years.
Yes, and the happy English home has proved it in half the time.
For heaven's sake, don't try and be cynical. It's perfectly easy to be cynical.
My dear fellow, it isn't easy to be anything nowadays. There's such a lot of beastly competition about it. I think I heard a knock. That must be... Oh.
Miss Fairfax and Lady Bracknell.
Lady Bracknell. Miss Fairfax.
Good evening, dear Algernon.
Good evening.
Hope you're behaving very well.
I am feeling very well.
That's not quite the same thing, actually. In fact, the two things hardly ever go together.
Oh, dear me, you are smart.
I am always smart, aren't I, Mr. Riley?
You're quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, I hope I am not that. It would leave no room for development, and I intend to develop in many directions.
Won't you come and sit here too, Gwendolyn?
Thanks, Mama. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
I'm sorry if we're a little late, Algernon, but I was obliged to call on dear Lady Harbury. I haven't been there since her poor husband's death. I've never seen a woman so altered before. She looks quite 20 years younger. But now I'll have a cup of tea.
Cup of tea?
And one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Yes, certainly. Here, you can have actually... Dear heavens, Lanes! Where are the cucumber sandwiches? I ordered them specially.
There were no cucumbers in the market this morning, sir.
No cucumbers on the market?
Yes, sir. Not even for ready money.
Not even for ready money? That'll do, Lane.
Thank you, sir.
I'm very sorry about there being no cucumber sandwiches. Not even for ready money.
It really makes no matter, Algernon. I had some crumpets with Lady Harbury. It seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now.
Oh, I hear her hair has turned quite gold from grief.
It certainly has changed colour, but from what cause I, of course, cannot say. But yes, thank you, Algernon, for this tea. I have quite a treat for you tonight, actually. I am going to send you down with Mary Farquhar. She is such a lovely woman, and so attentive to her husband. It is delightful to watch them.
It is a great bore, Aunt Augusta, but I shall have to give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight.
I hope not, Algernon. You would put my table completely out. Your poor uncle would have to dine upstairs.
It is a great...
Fortunately, he is accustomed to that, actually.
It is a great bore, and I need hardly to say a terrible disappointment to me, but the fact is I've just had a telegram to say that the poor friend Bunbury has fallen quite ill. They seem to think that I should be with him.
It is very strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously bad health. Curiously bad health.
Yes, poor Bunbury is a dreadful invalid.
Well, I must say, Algernon, that I think it is high time that this Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he wanted to live or to die. This shilly-shallying with the question is absurd. Nor do I in any way approve of modern sympathy with invalids. I consider it morbid. Illness of any kind is hardly a thing to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life. I am always telling that to your poor uncle, but he never seems to take much notice, as far as any improvement in his ailment goes at least. But I should be much obliged if you could ask Mr. Bunbury from me to be kind enough not to have a relapse on Saturday, because I rely on you to arrange my music for me. It is my last reception, and would want something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season when everyone has said not much.
I'll speak to Bunbury, Aunt Augusta, if he's still conscious, that is, and I think I can promise that he'll be all right by Saturday. Of course, the music is great difficulty. You see, if one plays good music, people don't listen. And if one plays bad music, people don't talk. So, anyway, I'll run over the program with you that I've drawn out. Would you like to come to the next room to have a look?
Why, yes. Thank you, dear Algernon. It is very thoughtful of you. I'm sure the program will be delightful. After a few explications, of course.
Yes.
French songs I simply cannot allow. People always seem to think that they are improper and either look shocked, which is vulgar, or laugh, which is far, far worse.
It is, isn't it?
But German sounds a thoroughly respectable language, and indeed, I believe it is so. Gwendolyn, you shall accompany me.
Certainly, Mamma.
Charming day, Miss Fairfax.
Pray, don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever people talk to me about the weather, I always feel quite certain that they mean something else.
Oh.
And that makes me so nervous.
No, I do mean something else.
I thought so, in fact. I'm never wrong.
And I would like to be allowed to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary absence.
I would certainly advise you to do so. Mamma has a way of coming back into a room suddenly that I've often had to speak to her about.
Gwendolyn, ever since I met you, I loved you more than any other person I have ever met. Since I met you.
I'm quite aware of the fact, and I often wish that in public at any rate you had been more demonstrative. For me, you have always had an irresistible fascination. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Worthing, in an age of ideals, a fact that is constantly mentioned in the more expensive monthly magazines, and has reached the provincial pulpits, or so I'm told. And my ideal has always been to love someone of the name Earnest. The name inspires absolute confidence. It has a music all of its own. The moment Algernon first mentioned to me that he had a friend called Earnest, I knew I was destined to love you.
Gwendolyn, you really love me?
Passionately.
Oh, darling, you don't know how happy you've made me.
My own Earnest!
You mean to say you couldn't love me if my name wasn't Earnest?
But your name is Earnest.
Yes, but suppose it wasn't. You're saying that you could not love me.
Ah, that is clearly a metaphysical speculation. And like most metaphysical speculations, has nothing to do with the actual facts of real life as we know them.
Darling, to speak quite candidly, I don't think the name of Earnest suits me very much.
It suits you perfectly. It's a divine name. It has a music all of its own. It produces vibrations.
Yes, but there are much nicer names. For instance, Jack, a perfect one.
Jack! No! There is very little music in the name Jack, if any at all. It does not thrill. It produces absolutely no vibrations. I have known several Jacks, and they all, without exception, were more than usually plain. Besides, Jack is a notorious domesticity for John, and I pity any woman married to a man called John. She would probably never be allowed to know the entrancing pleasures of a single moment's solitude.
Gwendolyn, I must get christened at once. I mean, we must get married at once.
Married, Mr. Worthing?
Well, surely, you know I love you, and you said you were not perfectly indifferent to me.
I adore you, but nothing has even been said about marriage. The subject hasn't been touched on.
Well, may I propose to you now?
I think it would be an admirable opportunity, and to spare you any possible disappointment, I find it only fair to tell you quite frankly beforehand that I am fully determined to accept you.
Gwendolyn, will you marry me?